We are live. What is up, everybody? Austin prechtelevate Performance, coming at you live with another episode of the Fit Parent Project. And today, on this episode of the podcast, I'm joined by an amazing client of mine who I thoroughly enjoy working with. She's been crushing it lately since we started working together, and I'm just excited to have her on the podcast. Her name's Jessica, and yeah, feel free to introduce yourself. How's it going?
Oh, good. I don't really know what you want me to say, but yes,
Okay.
I'm Jessica, and I guess the quickest way to cut to the point is I turned 49 last year, and I didn't feel that what I was doing for fitness, which was not great. It was just a little bit of what kind of.
Oh, and then she disappeared. That was like, I wonder if her phone died or something happened. Oh no. That was if you could hear me, I don't know what happened, but your sound and your picture disappeared. And that's kind of hilarious that happened right when you were about to dive into your story. So let's see. I'm gonna we are experiencing technical difficulties, and maybe we're back. Maybe. I see some things going on with the fiddling around with the the camera and the mic. I'm gonna oh, okay, yeah. I was gonna say I'll kick you out and then you can pop back in. But that's okay. That's the beauty of this. We're just doing the damn thing and playing it by ear. And I see somebody left a comment that says, "Oh no, oh that's Courtney." Yeah, technical difficulties. It's all good. We're figuring it out. That's it happens. So, oh, there she is. Cool. How's it going? We're back.
Hey, sorry
Nice.
about that. So
Nice.
of course, somebody tried to call me, and I'm on my phone right now. So
that's so funny. It was so perfectly timed to where it was like you were literally about to just be like, dive into like dive into your spiel and then just blank.
Right. Okay, so back to it. I had just turned 49, or I was about to turn 49, and I was doing no more than like a little bit of cardio, maybe watching what I ate, stuff like that. And I had been going through another trainer online. She had me down to 14 calories because I wasn't super active. Yeah. And then she would do these YouTube videos, and it was just like it wasn't working for me. I knew I wanted to lift because I did it in high school. And I had been following. TikTok has been a lifesaver in this journey for me, and that's how I found you, actually.
Yeah.
And so cool. I knew that I wanted to start lifting, and I wanted to do it with someone who was local if I needed it. And so that's how I found you. Yeah. We got me on this program, and I went from being skinny fat to kind of, and I don't love that expression, but you know what I mean? Yep. To completely recomping my body.
I know. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah. And awesome. I think it took like 6 months to get that first recomp done.
Yeah. And you went all, I mean, like pretty well from the get-go. I mean, you were on the ball. Like, I mean, you're like getting after it. Like, you were getting your protein down pretty dang quick. Like, it was just like one of those things where, man, like you just like went all in, which was what I thought that was going to happen. Like, I just got that feeling. Like, I was like, this is somebody that goes all in on what they, sign up for, kind of thing. And if it's one of those things, like if you hadn't been that like dialed in and that like on the ball from the get-go, like you being able to accomplish that within 6 months like is pretty damn impressive. Like it really is. Like losing 15 pounds over 6 months, like that's impressive in and of itself, but that's not unreasonable, right? But to like actually like recomp your body how you have, like, which we can talk a little bit more about here in a bit, but like day and night like difference in terms of like the body fat percentage that you had going on compared to where we're at right now. Like I titled this episode that you're 15 pounds down, waist snatched, and at 49, because that's what it is. Like, I mean, you got like in some of your photos and stuff like that, like we had going on, like even some of your abs were starting to show, and like everything was like, and like that's not an easy thing to accomplish, for anybody, but especially coming into your later 40s, and you're gonna be 50 this year, or not this year, next year. So it's like one of those things. I think it's like, do you feel like the fact that you're gonna be 50 next year, do you feel like that was like a kind of like a thing that like fueled your drive to like want to make something happen sooner rather than later? Or because you said you were already kind of working with somebody, but it wasn't like the right fit kind of?
Yeah. Yeah, well, and I think I'd been working with you for about 2 months and I turned 49. So I was already all in, but I'm also an all or nothing person. As you
I know.
know, when I get the fatigue, I'm like, Austin, I'm so out. Like I'm so done right now. And you're like, it's okay, just take a break. And that's what I did. Now I'm back and I'm all in again. But turning 50, I saw what I had accomplished in about 2 months. And I think I was roughly 10 pounds down, and you could already see some minor physical changes in how my clothing fit and everything. And so I decided I was just going to go balls to the wall till I hit 50. And obviously it's going to go beyond 50 now, but I just wanted to see what I could accomplish in a year. And so, in you have my before and after pictures, and I think in my after shot, my waist is at 27 inches, and that was 3 or 4 months ago. And I think I'm at the point now where the measurements might start growing a little bit, but it's all going to be muscle.
Oh yeah. And that's the cool thing about it too, is like, I mean, for those of you guys that are listening right now that like have not seen her client spotlight, like one, I'm going to be doing like you're going to see it again before the year's over, because I always like highlighting like all of my clients who've been crushing it this year. But if you haven't seen it, like I highly suggest go like to my social media and like just look for her spotlight, because it is like, it's crazy, like the difference, especially like midsection, like love handle area, like upper body, like everywhere, upper body, lower body, like even in your face, like everything, just like it's crazy, like the difference that even just 15 pounds can make, when you lost 15 pounds of body fat, but also we built a lot of muscle along the way. So probably lost even more poundage of like body fat along the way, but like just building that muscle alongside with it, kind of like I've talked about it before, like the stalemate effect, kind of like where it's like, we're you're losing body fat, but you're also building muscle. Sometimes that can like make the scale not exactly, reflect how much change is actually happening, which is why I think it's so important to have those photos and to have those non-scale victories and things like that. So you're actually, what's kind of cool is like you're one of my first like ever clients from TikTok. Like not my only one, but like it was crazy, because like I was like, man, this person like is from my area too. Like how did you find me? Like, because like, was it from like my posts, or was it like, did you search like Spokane like coaches or something like that on TikTok? Or
I think because you're on, I found you on it was an account I created that I use as my throwaway account now. But I had created it specifically to follow fitness stuff. And I think TikTok threw you into my feed because we're in the same location. I really think that's it.
That's so cool how like something like that can like that, just like that one chance, one-off like thing could like, turn into like a life-changing, like working together and experience and seeing all this progress that you've been seeing. Like it's just cool how like a little thing like that can turn into something so big. And I've said it before on previous like episodes of the podcast, like one like there was one time where I had shared like a bunch of funny like fitness memes that I had made in like a fitness meme group on Facebook. And that one post, like one person had like left a comment, and we ended up following each other, and then that person ended up becoming a client, and then like it just kind of became this cascading thing where like I got connected to a bunch of really awesome people, and some of them I'm still working with, and it's really cool to see how social media can like bring people together with common interests or common goals with what they want to work on. And so I'm glad TikTok showed my stuff to you.
Well, and there's a difference with you too, because like I said, I was using another influencer that someone recommended who had been using her off of Instagram or something. And she was working for a lot of her clients, but it just wasn't for me because it was so cookie cutter. And I was following you on TikTok for a little bit before I reached out. And I got the idea that you were a little less cookie cutter, a little more individualized. And that's what I needed. And that's what I was looking for. And even still, now that I'm really starting to put on strength, and I'm eating in a caloric surplus, I can reach out to you any day and be like, hey, I need to change up this exercise, or this isn't doing enough, or I'm not targeting the right group. And you are Johnny on the spot with making adjustments. And that's just not the experience I was having before, because everything before was, okay, your workouts are going to be these YouTube videos that I've done for all of my clients, ranging from 150 pounds to 300 pounds, and all of you need to be doing them. And that just didn't work for me. And that's how I ended up coming to you. I knew I wanted to lift, and I didn't want to do HIIT workouts.
Yeah. No, that is so funny. That is really cool. And that's true though. I mean, I think that's what really awesome about what we do over here, is that we really do, like, because one plan isn't going to be like a end all be all for everybody. At the end of the day, like you said, that weight range, there's a ton of differences that can go into effect with that. There's a lot of potential, like, injury or pain issues, or like, even just general, like, safety, like in general, like, like some things that if somebody's just starting off on their journey at like 300 pounds, probably shouldn't be doing the same exact thing, or in the same amount or volume or whatever as somebody else who, has been working out for a long time and is like 150 pounds kind of thing. It's just, I think customization, I think, is really important as far as like the plan goes, but then also just like accountability and just like kind of being connected to your clients, I think is really important. And just having that, like, that coach client relationship, I think, is really key in that community. It can really just make a big difference, especially like from one ADHD person to another, like knowing that like somebody that I know on a personal level that is, holding me accountable and wants to, and like knows what my plan is and what my goals are. Like, I feel like, me personally, I show up way harder in that sense, because I don't want to, like, even though I don't think I'd ever, it would be tough for somebody to like truly disappoint me. But it's just that, like, that thought of like, I don't want to let them down. Like, I don't want to disappoint them. Like, they know there's they know what my goals are and timeline and things like that. Like, it really kind of keeps you from like procrastinating it and actually like doing it.
Well, and that I want to point out is another thing I like about working with you, is that we both have ADHD. So I was in the hyper focus for about the first 6 or 7 months, and then I hit a wall, and I was like, Austin, I can only make it to the gym. I can't do the diet. I can't, I need a break from all of that. And you're like, okay, cool. So go to the gym, focus on your protein, and make some gains, and then we'll handle it when it's time. And I gave you a deadline for when I was going to be done. And that was December 1st. And sure enough, I'm back to tracking. I'm back to, and I'm kind of on ramping again. Because the changes have to be small and incremental. But yeah, I didn't lose any of my gains for taking a little bit of time off.
Yeah. And sometimes that can be like, it can be nice to give yourself that like mental break, like as far as just like the, like, expectations and like having like a lot of heavy expectations on ourselves. Like, I think, and getting away from like, and just being able to take that break from the diet fatigue, quote unquote, or like even just like, taking some time off from like tracking every little thing. Like, there's nothing inherently wrong with that, as long as that like break doesn't turn into, months and months and months and months, you know what I mean? So, but yeah, no, that's awesome. So for you, in terms of like your goals, we've talked about what we've been able to accomplish to a degree already. But like, what were some of the things that what were struggles for you, like, in your journey prior to either us working together, or even just, since, you've been on this journey? What's some of the struggles that you faced?
So I've never been someone who's significantly overweight in terms of how I look. But if you were looking at I know BMI is a terrible measure of health and fitness, but I was up there. And I had a high body fat percentage. And sorry, say the question again. Struggles getting to here, right?
Just what were some of like the struggles that you had in your journey?
So one of the things, and I tried different things off and on. I think years ago, I used to go to the gym and do 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups, 100 squats, and I would do an hour on the elliptical, and I would just be exhausted, and it would take me 2 to 3 hours. That was when I first started, maybe 10 years ago, but then it went on to when I first moved here 6 years ago, I did a rapid weight loss diet.
Mm-hmm.
where I could eat 4 ounces of meat per day and an apple and then blueberries if I wanted to. And then I did these supplements that I would put on my tongue and everything. By the end of it, and it was only 3 months, by the end of it, I lost the weight, but I was crying every day because I was hungry and I was miserable. And, but again, I'm an all-in person, you know, and I actually went back 2 years later and did the diet again. And I found that my body only allowed me to go so low. And then it was like, no, we're not doing this anymore. Like my body would not let me go below. I couldn't get as low as I had the first time I did the rapid weight loss.
So. It's one of those things. It's like those methods just, they aren't meant to last long term. Like at the end of the day, like they're there to get you a taste of what you were wanting to get, or even to get you there, but then you can't maintain it. Like, and because you can't maintain those like hyper restrictive, like really just like, you know, crash diets or fad diets, or, you know, all these supplement things out there. I made a post yesterday about it, like, because I've been seeing posts on social media. People are like trying to sell shit, or like trying to like try this thing, or they're sharing pictures of like people that they don't even know that are from the company that like that they're, you know, selling this, you know, MLM stuff from, kind of thing. And it's just like, I saw it. I was like, oh, okay, it's that time of year again. Here we go. How many people are going to get, you know, either tricked, or how many people are going to come into it with unrealistic expectations and then just get, you know, screwed at the end of the day, and be in a spot where they're, you know, like you were talking about, like, you know, crying every day because like you're starving, and like, and that's not good for your like mental, like being that low and that like restrictive is just like, it's not good for your mental health. It's not good for your physical health. Like, it's bad for your hormones to be having that few of calories on a daily basis. Like, it's just like, it's not a good time. But I'm very glad that you know, got away from all that, and now we're doing something that's like, you know, getting us the results that we want to get without crying every day.
Well, yeah, I think one of the switches that flipped for me was when I started watching the TikTok videos and everything. I started noticing that people who talked about lifting and people who had more muscle could also eat more food, and they could take in more calories. So it's not quite true. It's kind of a misnomer, but what my logic was at the time was, oh man, if I start lifting, I can eat whatever I want. You know, and maybe eventually, maybe someday, but you still have to monitor your protein. You have to make sure that you don't go crazy on the calories and everything, but you can kind of eat what you want as you put on more muscle.
And I mean, I can eat way more food now, like, than I could 10 years ago, and maintain my weight, because it requires a lot more energy to maintain a higher muscle mass than to not have that. And it's just like, and so like it's one of those things. It's like, I mean, I like to joke. I'm like, do I actually like, you know, bodybuilding and putting on muscle, or do I just like eating more food? And it's just like, and caffeine. But it's like, this is one of those things where it's like, I mean, it is definitely one of those things, like, because your metabolism is just higher by default, which means you need more calories to maintain your size. So it's definitely one of the nice benefits of it. And so for you, you know, as far as some of the strategies, or some of the things, what are some of the things like that you found that work really well for you, as far as like nutrition goes, or as far as like, you know, workouts and things like that? Like, what do you think has been a, I don't know, like, quote unquote secret to like your success so far? Like, what are some of the things that you feel like have been, you know, that you do differently now maybe than you used to do, that you feel like has been working for you?
I live in the future.
Yeah.
So so even like right now, I took this little break. I can see that there are fat stores on my body. Nobody else can, but I can, because I'm the only person who looks at myself naked in the mirror every day, right? But at the same time, I live in the future, so I can see my butt is a little bit bigger. It's a little bit rounder. I can see the defining line for my pack. And I look at myself and I'm like, oh, all I need to do is shed a little bit of fat and it's already right there. You know, and that simplifies everything so much. I already know I have that body or that look. I just need to get there.
Yep.
That's all it is. I've already got it. I've got all the tools. I
Yep.
have all the equipment.
Yep.
I have all the good nutrition I need.
Yep.
I just need to, you know, I just need to be there. So
Yep.
mentally, it's kind of manifestation. It's
Yeah.
manifest, right? So I'm already there. There are
Yep.
just a few little tweaks I need to make in order to let other people see I'm
Yep.
already there too.
I love that. I think that's one thing, like vision, right? Like having a vision, like having a goal, and like getting the because a lot of times people are like, oh, I want to lose like 20 pounds, or they'll say like, I want to lose 10 pounds. It's like, okay, well, like, why? How's your life going to be different? What, what's going to change for you whenever you reach that goal? Like how are you going to feel differently? Like, mentally or emotionally, or, you're going to have more energy? Are you going to be more confident? Like, when you go shopping or whatever, like, are you going to, that just those kinds of things can make a big difference in terms of like how all in somebody can get on their goals and on their journey. Because like, if you can like see it in your mind, like there's a quote like, it's like, if you can see it in your mind, you can hold it in your hand. And it's like, it's very true. And I feel like you like to a degree by default, like already kind of living in that future, like that's, is a great kind of mental mindset, like practicing thing that like I do that like whenever I meditate. A lot of times, like I think about what I want my life to look like, or I think a lot about like how this next year is gonna be. We're about to have like a vision board party here in a couple of weeks around the new year in our community, just because like I'm big on vision. Like, and I'm not a big like kind of hippie woo woo person, but like I know that if I have a vision and I can see it, and I am reminded of that on a regular basis, I'm going to take actions. I'm going to think thoughts that are more in alignment with that, which is going to lead to more actions that are going to get me closer to that. And it's just like, I really think that is, it really, if somebody could practice that, like that, getting their vision, I don't know, out there to the world, or like even just like thinking about it more often to themselves, and they can kind of like see it, like it can make a big difference in terms of just like your mentality towards your goals and towards your vision and towards what you want to achieve. Because like you said, like you can see it, like it's just I'm right here. I know it's there. I just got to put in the work between now and then, and I will get what I want. It's a matter of like when it's going to happen, not if it's going to happen. And something too that's really, it's one of the number one traits that determines whether or not somebody's going to have a successful health and fitness journey or not, and they're going to actually reach their goal. Whether it's weight loss or building muscle or both or whatever. But like the term is called low recency. They have a high low recency, and it means you are able to value the things that you're going to get in the long term from the actions you take today more than the immediate gratification that you're going to get from like, eating that candy bar, even though it's going to slow you down or screw you over from reaching your goals, a couple months ahead. But if you have low recency, you can say, no, I'm not going to make that, decision that's going to give me that dopamine right now, because I am going to get way more value from what I'm going to get, in the future. Cause like you can kind of see it, that it's on the horizon. If I just take the actions today that are going to get me there, going forward. And so it's like one of the number one things, like if people have that, like they're way more likely to succeed. So I think just practicing that, like valuing like your future self and what they're going to get out of it, because it's you, more than like the immediate like gratification. I think it can play a big, makes a big difference. So, and I feel like you have that, like you even just talking about like, seeing yourself, how you're going to be. Like, I feel like, you've got that. And it's part of why you're, I think as successful as you are.
Well, and I know it's December right now, but in my head, I am on the beach in June, like a month after my birthday. And so that's where I see myself. Every time I look in the mirror, I see myself in a bikini in the sun. And even if I don't like what's looking back at me immediately right now, it looks a hell of a lot better than it did 6 months ago. So imagine what it's going to look like 6 months from now.
Yep. I love that mentality. Yeah, that's fantastic. And yeah, so because you've already crushed a lot. Like we've already made a ton of awesome progress towards like kind of our first like bout of goals that you had. And so like, while we're here, like, you know, do you mind sharing what your current goals are? Because I feel like other people would probably want to hear it.
Yeah. So what I found is well, I'm not going to speak for other people, but for me, I had a weight loss goal and I had a measurement goal.
Mm-hmm.
And I hit both of those pretty quickly.
Yep.
And then I was stuck because it was like, what now? I'm still figuring that out, because that's part of why I took a break was, when I hit a goal and I'm done, again, ADHD, I'm like, okay, been there, done that. What's the next thing I can do? And this is the first time, I think, probably in my life, or my first time with anything, where I've been determined enough to revisit. After I've hit the goal, I'm revisiting what I'm doing to see what the next goal may be. And I think that's why I took a little bit of time off, because I was able to, I think maybe I put on muscle and fat combined, maybe about 10 pounds. Maybe. And so now I'm like, okay, I built a little bit of muscle. We're going to shed some fat and see where we're at. It's kind of an experiment I was doing on myself. Because now I really want to start learning about bulking and shredding, and there's the possibility of doing an over 50 competition in a year or two, but I don't know if I want to do that. But I just now it's come down to, how can I manufacture my own results? Because you don't always feel like you're in control when you're trying to lose that first chunk of weight. But I got my waist smaller than it was even in my 20s. I weighed less than I even weighed in my 20s.
That's amazing.
Right. Let's see. The lowest I got in my 20s was 147. And then working out with you, I got to 140. I think the lowest I got, I want to say 145 without having too much fluctuation, but I got down to 143 for a few days.
I think it was like one. It was like one. It was either 142.1 or 143.1. But either way,
to be clear, I'm 5'9", so that's
oh yeah, that's pretty lean. Like that's
and so
amazing.
My next step now is to have fun with it, and to and that sounds so weird, and to be okay with gaining a little bit of temporary weight, because that can be scary. So another goal is to, okay, let's see how much control we can put over what we have going on right here. So I'm going to gain a little bit. I'm going to add a little bit of fat temporarily, and then I'm going to shed it just within a few months. And then if I like the way that worked out, I think I want to do a full-blown bulk.
You know? Well, it'll be fun. It's because I remember, because when we kind of initially hit that first goal, we ended up getting on a phone call, I think, and we were talking about, like, you know, what's next, like, what do we want to, like, because it was like, from my frame of mind, I was like, having ADHD, it's kind of like you said, like, once I hit that, what's next, done and done, like, you know, I'm over it, right? I'm not hyper fixated on that thing anymore. But now, and having that call, I was like, and even, I think, even, you know, coming back from this little break that you took, I was like, knowing me and knowing how I operate, like, and not everybody's the same, but like, I was just like, I need something that I'm progressing towards or doing, or like, what's next. And so it's a dangerous game not having a goal to work towards. Sometimes it can be healthy to a degree, but like, it's also, I think, important to like have that next thing, because that progression, I think, is a lot of times what can drive that like desire to like achieve that or succeed at that or make progress in that, especially with ADHD. Like it's just like, I was like, we can take a little break, but like, let's make sure we get, like, you know, what's next, so that way we don't go too far. So,
yep. And I think, honestly, what I want to work on right now is just the connection between my mind and body. Because when you're initially losing weight, you don't necessarily have that. It's I need to take these steps to get this result. Right. So now I really want to work on looking at myself and like I said, being able to tweak what I see for fun. You know,
how cool is that mental shift, right? It's like,
it is unreal. It's insane. It
makes you feel way more like just I don't know, like confident and like in control. Like it's the whole like knowledge is power type of thing. Like if the more you understand something and know something, whether it's nutrition or workouts or mindset or having gone through, you know, a weight loss phase now and being able to like kind of see how your body works. It's like, and it's cool because I've gone through I've gone through a ton of bulking and cutting phases over like my kind of, I wouldn't call it a career either, but bodybuilding career or whatever like that. So that I've done. Like I know how my body operates really well. I know where the fat's going to come off, like like timeline wise, like where it's going to come off first, where it's going to go next, like, you know, knowing what parts I want to like kind of like focus in on and bring up. Like it's just, I don't know, it kind of becomes like you're kind of like you know, you're like a sculptor and like your body's like this like statue that you're getting to like turn into whatever you want it to. And I just I feel like that just, it changes the game, and because you feel in control, because I feel like a lot of times when people are trying to lose weight or they're gaining weight kind of rapidly or faster than they like they don't feel in control. And I feel like that's a hard place to be in mentally and emotionally whenever you don't feel like you're in control of your body necessarily. Because I feel like I'm not in control of my brain a lot of times, like having ADHD, like, which is tough. Like, so it's like, I get that aspect, but yeah, it's definitely one of those things that definitely kind of like flipping the script there. It can make a huge difference. I think I'm really proud of you and excited for you because we've come that far now, like we're at that point, and you just made so many like changes, like physically, mindset wise, like it's just been cool to see. So yeah.
Well, and so not only are we, you know, once you learn that you really do have the key to unlock whatever fitness looks like to you as an individual, I think the next step is, and I'm losing my train. It's leaving me.
That's okay.
I can't. Oh gosh, I can't remember what I was going to say, and it's really, really good. But basically, it comes down to, yeah, you don't feel like you're in control until you learn. Oh, that's what it is. A switch has to flip.
Yeah.
There has to be a moment when you look at yourself and you say, "Oh, this is really on me. I may not look like, you know, I'm dating myself, but like Cindy Crawford or whatever, you know, but but the thing is, I may not look like a supermodel, but I look damn good for who I am and how I've always wanted to look."
I love that.
You know?
That and that's empowering, and like for you to be able to like just and to be able to even say that, like, you know, out loud and like and feel it, like, and know it, like that it's like, you know, true to you. Like that's just really, really cool. And I think just again a testament just how far you've come on this journey of yours, and just it's pretty damn cool. And rightfully so. You've been putting in the freaking work, and like I've had people whenever I've like, because I like to, you know, share client spotlights, like I'll pull them up, like people ask what I do, I'm like this is what I do, this is what I help people with. And I've had people be like I've shown them like, you know, client spotlight or whatever, and I showed them yours, and they're like there's no way she's 49, like just with how much you're like, you know, like you're freak. How many other 49-year-olds out there are in as good a shape as you are right now?
Yeah.
Not very many. Like,
well, and I remember what I was going to say now. So once you learn, you have that control. Once that switch is flipped, you start really paying attention to the secondary effects. So the moodiness, the depression, the anxiety that I thought I was just hardwired with, gone. And that's not to say I don't have moments. But the cloud that followed me for my entire life, and sometimes it was above me, sometimes it was behind me, and I was able to outrun it. I don't need medication anymore. I don't need antidepressants. I don't lay in bed all the time. You know, and I cannot believe, I knew, we all know, everybody knows, even those of us who are in our worst physical shape, we all know, because the medical community has told us that exercise makes you feel better. But I think honestly, you have to find the exercise that's right for you, because I said, I did 2 to 3 hours of cardio and push-ups and whatnot years ago. I was still depressed. But getting in the gym and lifting for an hour, and I go slow, so it's usually an hour and a half for me. but I'm doing it.
Yeah.
And it's eradicated all of that. And
That's awesome.
I can't speak to how powerful that is. And that's why even when I told you I had food like diet fatigue or,
Oh yeah,
you know, tracking fatigue,
yep.
whatever you want to call it, even when I had that, I have been making sure that I go to the gym at least 3 times a week because
Yep.
I now know what I have to do in terms of fitness
Yeah.
to outrun the depression and the
Yeah.
anxiety and some of those emotional issues that come with the ADHD and everything.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. And a lot of those things too, like they like, you know, they can be, a lot of that can be, you know, and everybody's different and there's definitely nuance to every case, but like a lot of times, like it's not going to make it worse. Like it can only help. It can only help mitigate and make, you know, your life better to a degree, like mentally and physically. And a lot of times there's a lot of like interconnectedness between those things, like the mind, you know, mind body connection. You know, your body's only going to do what the mind wills it to do. And if you're treating your body like, you know, terribly, your mindset's probably not in a great spot either, and vice versa.
Yep.
And it's just like it's one of those things where, like, I know that, like, you know, being unhealthy isn't going to make your mental health better. Like that's just, you know, at the end of the day, it's like, it's, that's only going to make it worse. And so in turn, you know, improving your physical health and a lot of times, you know, in tandem with your mental health, like they work, they synergize really well together. Like they work really well together. And there's, you know, I think a lot of reasons for that. And so I love that. That's just so like, I don't know. I think it's just super empowering. Like if enough people like realize like just by, you know, like even if you're only like, you know, tracking your protein or even like attempting to eat more protein and you go to the gym a couple times more like per week, like it can have like those small little things, those 2 millimeter shifts, like it adds up over time and it can have
Yep.
a huge impact on your life if you just commit to the process without expectation. Like if people just committed, like and a lot of times, like I tell people all the time, like you're gonna mess up. You probably have unrealistic expectations coming into a health and fitness journey. That's okay. We'll work with that, work through it and all that. But if I feel like a lot of times people quit on themselves or quit on their goals because they were expecting things to either happen a lot quicker or they were expecting, you know, it to be a little bit different or whatever. But if somebody could just go into a program with no expectation of, and just they have a goal in mind, but just like, you know, they don't have like a timeline or they don't have like a, you know, I need it to be exact like that. Like if they just go into it and then they just commit to the process, they will see drastically more results and long-term life changes than they would otherwise. And but it's hard to get people to take action without, you know, knowing that it's a sure thing that they're going to get that prize, that they're going to, you know. And so I feel like a lot of people, like they don't live in that long-term, like, you know, state of mind of like that being in the future sometimes and seeing what's possible. They're just so stuck either in the past or in the present, like in a bad way. Like it's just like, that's not productive, I guess. So.
Well, I feel like those small changes, like right now I am only tracking my food and focused on protein.
Yep.
Okay. My next goal is to add in more water because I fell
Yep.
off the wagon with that. And then, you
Yep.
know, but these micro changes to me are kind of like compound interest, but for my body.
Yep.
You know,
Oh,
if you put
absolutely.
$1 in your checking account every day or every week, you're not going to see anything for a
Yeah.
really long period of time.
Yep.
You know, and so it's I think it's that way with anything though, you
Yeah.
know, but in this circumstance, you do those small changes and maintain them. You
Yep.
don't change everything overnight, which is another mistake I've made where I would
Yep.
wake up and be like, okay, today's the day, and
Yep.
I kill myself drinking water and my body's not used to it.
Yep.
You know, but if you make those small changes and you maintain them over time, it's like a little deposit on your fitness,
Yep.
a little
Exactly.
bit every day.
Yep.
And then one day you wake up and okay, so because it's fitness, you don't have $1 million in the bank account, but you feel
Mhm.
like $1 million.
Yeah. I love that. Boom. Yeah. That's that right there. That's some good shit right there. I like that. Yeah. Yeah. No, I love that. It's true. It's like it's, you know, you make enough deposits, like, because I feel like a lot of people are in like they struggle with their goals because in a lot of ways, people just in general are very prone to just being take, and not, and not even taking from others, but taking from themselves in a lot of ways. Just take until there's nothing left, or they let other people take from them until there's nothing left because they're people pleasers, and they don't have their cup's not full. They're kind of a husk of what they could be if they would just give to themselves and make those deposits, and then eventually over time, then you get to. And that's how I view social media. That's how I view my business model. That's how I view how I like to live my life. Is like, I know if I give enough, and maybe it's a little bit selfish in some ways, like hidden underneath, but like I know if I give enough, like I will get something eventually. Like I know if I make enough deposits, if I give enough value, if I help enough people, if I try to do right as best I can, like and not not like go for short term, like reputation ruining kind of shit, like what I mean. Like I want long-term, I want longevity in business, in life, in my relationships. I want all of that to be that way. And I think that, that's a key to being happy in general, is just like giving as much as you can, because it'll come back tenfold to you if you are doing it with like the right intentions, I think. So, yeah, no, I love it. And there's a lot of parallels too, to a health and fitness journey and entrepreneurship, and being good at or any hobby, or playing music, or a sport. Like it's just, there's a lot of parallels, because there's just these like pillars of success. And if you apply those pillars of success to whatever it is you're working towards, like, you'll see success eventually. And so I don't know. I just feel like integrity and tenacity and just adaptiveness, like, and consistency, all those things, just they're universal kind of like laws in a sense to be successful and stuff. So, but
exactly.
Yeah. So for you, I feel like I don't know how much time we have left. I can be on here for a little bit longer. I don't want to keep you too long. I want to respect your time. But for you, what were there ever like any big plateaus or setbacks or things like that you feel like that you hit at times, or that you were kind of stuck in, either while we've been working together or even before that? Like, was there ever a time where like there was something that was just like why can't I like figure this out, or why do I feel kind of stuck here in this spot?
Not so much. I mean, you know that I had the fatigue with counting calories and everything, but I think I'm going to talk to a younger version of myself. Like,
please do.
There was a time when, because I know a lot of your clientele are in their 30s with young kids, or in their 20s, that kind of stuff. And there was a time when I was there too, when I didn't have a moment to breathe. And I think when you're in that situation, it was probably when I was in the worst shape of my life, because I had to make sure dinner was done, the kids got to their events, that I, with the ADHD too, I was a mom that had to get both kids to all of their events, but then there were like the school parties and the gift exchanges, and I could not do it all.
We're in that right now. It's so hard.
I know it is. But again, if you think of it in terms of, I have to go to the gym every day and spend 2 hours there, and I have to drink all of this, like a gallon of water, and I have to eat super clean, and it's like, that may not be the stage of life that you're in. My oldest is out of the house. My younger one is 17. So I can go to the gym for an hour and a half to 2 hours a day. I can spend as much time as I want making myself a healthy meal right now if I want. My kid can cook her own food if she doesn't like what I make. And so I'm in a completely different stage where I have the time to get results quickly. But if I were to talk to a younger version of myself, what I would tell myself, and what I would tell every overwhelmed parent, is that you only need to do what you can do for that day. And if all you can do is get in your water, and if you take your kids to basketball practice or whatever, just walk around the field. Or try to get some of your strength training in while they're there. And you might look a little silly doing squats and push-ups, but I'm sure there are other parents who would do it with you, or you might motivate someone who's watching you.
I love that.
But the most important thing you can do is not add to your plate this list of things that you have to do for yourself. You just have to find the pockets of time that would work for you. And I think especially with moms that have like postpartum disorder, I had it for 15 years before I was diagnosed. And so I had this no mentality in my head. People would say, well, you can do this. And I'd be like, no, I can't. And I would come up with a reason. And it was the depression speaking. And they were right. I had opportunities to do these things, but it's just not where I was. So if all you can do is get your water and get your protein that day, what an accomplishment. Because that in and of itself can be really, really hard. I can't hit my water every day and I have all the time in the world. You know? So I think younger parents or parents who are in that stage, the crazy stage, just need to remember that it's hard enough to focus on yourself. So if you can do it in micro amounts and a little bit every day, that is what matters most.
And it'll add up too. And also like, and you can feel good knowing that you're starting to set that example for your kids too, in a lot of ways. Like they're seeing like, because that's what I always remind myself of in those moments when I might be really stressed out, or like I'm like I'm up here, like, and I need to be down here. Like there's just times like I remind myself, I'm like how right now, like, the spotlight is on you as a parent and your kid is in the audience, and like they're seeing how you're handling and navigating life, and they're learning from you how to navigate that life too. And who's teaching them right now? It's you as the parent. And I always think I catch myself now a lot of times whenever I might be stressed out, or I might want to I might emotions might be kind of running high because my kid's got ADHD, I got ADHD. Like we just we will like elevate each other when it's hard, because like I need to be the I can't de-escalator. I need to be the one de-escalating, but then we like co-escalate each other sometimes. And like it's been a lot of work that I've had to put in, just because I didn't realize I was like this, because I never lived with somebody else who had ADHD, especially a 6-year-old. And it's like, and it's just one of those things where like it's just been a learning process, but it's been very worthwhile, because it's like I can see like the changes I'm making are making an impact and a difference in him in terms of his reactiveness, and just I don't know. It's very cool in that sense, like setting the example in that way, but then also the health and fitness aspects. And like I just think kind of like to kind of circle back to what you were talking about though, like I think that those little changes that you can make, even like you said, even if it's just you walk some laps at your kid's basketball practice, or you got your protein, or you got more protein in today than you did yesterday, like those little wins, like something is always better than nothing. And those wins, they add up over time. Like they add up over time. Like just because it didn't give you the immediate like change that like a lot of people want, like doesn't mean that it's not working. It's just like you're planting seeds right now, and those seeds, as long as you keep watering them, you will get what you want out of it eventually. And everybody's in different stages of their life. Like I really think that like you said, like I have way more freedom now, even with my kid being 6, than I had when he was like 2 or 3. Yeah. And it's just like you got to find those pockets of freedom that you can tap into, being okay with being adaptive, and knowing that like your day-to-day schedule is going to be chaotic from time to time, and that's okay. But if you really want it, and you really want to make it a priority, like you can find those pockets, you can make those little those little changes and things like that here and there, and eventually it will, you'll be glad that you did, because at the end of the day, for a problem to exist, and that's a lot of times, like I view like a health and fitness journey as like a puzzle or like a problem or something like that. Like for a problem to exist, like someone's a solution. Like I don't know what piece and I think that's what's cool about having somebody come into like a program like ours, where it's like really customized. It's like everybody's a puzzle. Like why you're not where you're at right now, or where you want to be right now, like there's a reason for that. There's some pieces missing. We just got to find those puzzle pieces and put them into place. And a month from now, like those puzzle pieces might not even be the issue. It might be some other pieces that are missing now that we need to figure out and I just think that like if people can, if parents, especially young parents, can just be kind to themselves and
Yeah.
patient with themselves, because they're doing enough as it is right now. Like they're people are always like, we all have the same 24 hours a day. Like we do. Like my 24 hours looks way different than some single 20 something who doesn't have any responsibilities other than like feeding themselves and showering. Like there's a big difference in terms of how many hours they have versus how many we have. So
who is it? His last name, is it Goggins?
Oh, David Goggins.
Like,
yeah.
Oh my gosh. Like good for him if that works for him. But yeah. And I think that's something else that parents need to do is, and well, I'm not going to, again, I don't want to speak for anyone else, but what I wish I had done when I was younger is, let's say all I could do was hit my water goal for the day. And I really tried on protein, but I missed it.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of going to bed telling myself, oh, all I did was hit water, really, you should be like, hey, I did that. Go me. You know what I mean? And tomorrow we'll work on, I was able to get this far on my protein, so maybe tomorrow I can do a little bit more. But hey, I did hit my water goal today, and I know that that's going to be flushing a lot of the toxins out. I know that's going to be getting a lot of, you can visualize, again, manifesting, right?
Mm-hmm.
Getting rid of all of that whatever it is that you don't want in your life or whatever. Every time you go to the bathroom, you're like, here we go. It's going. But you should really give yourself a pat on the back for what you did accomplish that day, instead of saying, oh, I only did that.
It's finding the win in the day and having that perspective shift, and also just like, people are so, like, we're all our own worst critic oftentimes, and people are so quick to not give themselves credit or take themselves down a peg, like when they have no reason to. It's like you said, like I got my water in today. Like not everybody can say that they did that, and at the end of the day, I couldn't even say that I did that like a week ago or whatever, and here I am, like I'm accomplishing that, and it's like, and those things add up over time. But if you can overcome the freaking mental game of self-sabotaging yourself for whatever reason it is, like if you can just overcome that and or at the very least, like mitigate it, because I think in a lot of ways, like things like that, they're an endless battle that you just get better at. Like that, you get better at winning it for the day, and it's just one of those things, like but if you can just do that, like you'll have a way more sustainable and successful and more enjoyable time on your health and fitness journey. And you'll actually get there, and you'll be able to stay there and improve upon it because of that. So, I love that. So I guess last question, I guess, for you, or maybe two quick questions, but what are some of like the non-scale victories that you've seen in your life since we've been working together? Because I know you talked about a lot of like the mental health and mindset stuff. A lot of that has improved pretty drastically, which is great. Like physically and things like that. Like what are some things that you've noticed? You lost a lot of inches too. That's another thing. Like that's like one of the biggest standout things, like in your photos, is just like, it's like your waist and everything like that is just like, it's
So the mental health aspect is the biggest shift. I have energy. When the weather was warmer. Now here's where I've kind of fallen off the wagon. Part of why I've put on a little bit of weight is I'm not walking now. I wanted to get on my elliptical, but I find it boring and it faces a wall. There's no TV or anything. And so for me, I have more energy overall. And in the summer and in the warmer months, I walk 14,000 steps a day. And that makes a huge, and sometimes I get up to 20,000 steps. But 14 is my minimum number because I saw a random trainer on TikTok say that's what she tries to do. That's so funny. So that's what I try to do now. But it's the overall energy where if somebody asks me if I want to go on a hike or even if I want to go to the grocery store, it's much easier to get up off the couch and just do the thing that needs to be done. At work, my mental energy is there. There's again, ADHD makes things a little more difficult. I have my good days and bad days. But I would say there is more mental clarity overall. I can communicate better. I find that people actually do gravitate to me more because I'm feeling better about myself.
Oh yeah. You're putting out, I mean, when you're confident, you're giving off that energy. Like, I mean, you can tell when somebody's confident and like, it almost makes you like, I don't know, like you're like a magnet or like electric or like charismatic. I don't know. But like, I noticed that too. Like when I started working on myself, holy shit, all of a sudden, like, look at all these high level people or these people that I enjoy in my, it's like you're shining a spotlight. You're like, you're all, I like to like your authentic light. Like you're like shining that out now. Cause like you're seeing yourself for who you want to become or have wanted to become or truly are. And then it helps other people see it too, just because you're living your life authentically in that way. So yeah, that's awesome. I love that.
Yeah. Well, and like last March, my friends and I like to go to random dive bars, and we went to one like on the Idaho border last March. Yeah. Was it in Post Falls? I want to say it was. Anyhow, it doesn't matter. The three of us walked in, and this was the diviest of dive bars. I think that they had a few like meth people in there warming up for the night. Like this was dive. But I loved it. I was talking to anybody and everybody, and I'm an introvert. I'm actually I don't like a lot of attention. I don't like the spotlight on me so much. And I think that goes back to ADHD, because if you're always messing up, why do you want any kind of spotlight, right? But this man walked up to me, and I had noticed that people had been circling around me that night. Yeah. And this was 2 months, I think, after I started with you. So it may not have even been March. It might have been a little later. And this guy looked at me and he goes, "Do you know how absolutely beautiful you are?" Ooh. And I did not know what to do with that. And I was just like, "Oh, thank you. I don't hear that very much anymore." And he's like, "No, you need to hear it because I don't think you understand."
Oh, that's awesome.
I was like, yeah. Okay. You know? That's awesome. I had just turned 49. I was in that ballpark, you know. Yeah. People don't come up to women who are 49 and 50 and say that type of stuff. This guy was at least 10 years younger than I was, you know, and it was just
I'm gonna put that on my on our like stamp that on there.
I'm like, okay, well, let's talk about it.
That's so funny. That's awesome. That is so true though. I mean, that is awesome. And I think it's just another cool thing too, real quick, like because you know you're coming into 50 this year or next year, and you know everything you're doing right now, we're getting ahead of like we're building the muscle, we're getting in the best shape that we can be. Like all of those things, those are going to mitigate what's called like sarcopenia, which is just like your body's natural like degradation over time. Like just like, and that starts like for people, you know, mid 40s to like mid 50s. But once it starts kind of happening, like if you're not doing the things that you're doing right now, like, you know, getting your protein in and making sure your nutrition is good and strength training and all that, like, you know, people will lose a lot of muscle. Women especially like perimenopausal and postmenopausal, like their bone density, like especially if they're not lifting weights, bone density decreases, risk of osteoporosis increases dramatically. You know, biggest cause of death for women in their 60s is like falling, I'm pretty sure. And it's because they fall and they break a bunch of shit because their bones aren't, you know, they're not very flexible anymore. Their bones are, you know, super weak and brittle, and they, you know, but it's because they didn't have proper nutrition. They didn't have their muscle. They lost a lot of muscle. They lost a lot of bone density, but all of that gets offset and pushed way back, like, and almost like it isn't even a factor really until you like your late 60s or early 70s if you're strength training. And so like right now you're literally like giving yourself the fountain of youth every day by doing this, and it's, you know, it's going to make a huge difference in terms of how like enjoyable your 50s are going to be compared to what they could have been. So like that's just another thing too, is like the sooner you guys can get ahead of it, like the better off you're going to be. And yeah, I'm excited for you. It's just like it's like coming into a new decade and like just being like living your best life and feeling your best and everything. Like it's really cool to see. So yeah. Last thing before I kind of end this episode, like and you kind of already did give a little bit of it. You gave some advice to like your younger self, but if anybody like who's listening to this right now or watching, like what kind of advice or like word of encouragement would you kind of, would you say to that person?
Okay, so I'm going to kind of piggyback off of what you were just saying about getting ahead of kind of the body's breakdown and everything.
Yeah.
My mom is a nurse, and for at least 20 years now, she has been on me to take my vitamins and to exercise. And she would look at me and she'd say, look at your grandmother. My grandma had a couple of hip replacements and some falls and stuff like that. And she was always very uncomfortable and in a lot of pain.
Yeah.
And my mom would say, look at my mom. She's like, this is your life. If you don't get it together, that's what you're looking at. And she's like, you can change that. You don't have to be like that. Just watch me. And so I did. I started watching my mom, who she doesn't lift or anything. She doesn't run, but she goes hiking all the time. She tries to be very active. She insists on walking her dog every day. She takes her vitamins. She eats clean. And I looked at her, and this is all within the last few years. And her sisters, one is 2 years older and one is 2 years younger. My mom looks at least 10 years younger than both of her sisters. The younger one started having like this neck issue where she couldn't hold her neck up and had to go get help for that. She's okay now. She's a little overweight. But then my mom's older sister, who never wanted to take care of herself in that way. She was actually always very naturally thin and in my eyes, very beautiful. She's shorter now. She's extremely frail. I am deeply concerned for her health. And I kind of woke up, and then I look at my mom, who has perfect posture. Her hair looks great. Her skin looks great. She has energy. People love her. She has a very busy social calendar, completely unlike her mom or her sisters. And so a bit of advice that I would give is, this is where we're getting to the point now. If we wake up, I think a lot of us face every day and look at the people in our family who have come before us and say, that's just my fate. That's just how it is what it is. When I hit menopause, I'm just going to put on a bunch of weight and my butt's going to go flat, and all of this it is what it is. You can ask yourself, is that really true? Is that what I want for myself? Do I want the same health conditions? Now, I'm not talking about something like PCOS, and there are certainly conditions that can't be prevented. But in terms of overall health, what am I doing to make sure that I don't take this, oh, well, it's going to happen mentality? Because again, if we go back to living in the future, if I look at my future self and say, well, I'm in the middle of, I'm perimenopausal right now. And by the time I get to the end, there's just nothing I can do. I'm going to look awful. I'm not going to be, I'm never going to get my 20s body back or whatever. I have found that none of that is true. I'm actually thinner than I was in my 20s. My butt sits a whole lot better than it did in my 20s. And it's just like, we're conditioned to believe all of these negative things. But to a degree, on so much of that, we can fight back with proper health and nutrition. And that's
absolutely. I love that. And it's so true too. Because a lot of times people are like, well, it's like, it's not my fault that my parents, had this or that or whatever. Or, and a lot of times it's crazy because a lot of times, like when their parent or sibling or somebody does have a heart attack or something, they're like, oh my gosh, like I don't want that to be my life. And then they do, make a difference and start to make a change and things like that. But a lot of times when people are in that headspace of like, oh, well, it is what it is. That's what's going to happen. It's like, you're giving up all of your control and power to the things that you can't like, that you can actually choose to make a difference in your life. And I think that's, and I think a lot of ways it's kind of sad to me. Cause I'm like, you're giving up all your power. Like you're giving up all your control. Like you're just basically saying like, because at the end of the day, we're all the authors of our own story. Like nobody can write it for us. Nobody can take the pen and do it for us. Nobody, only us. And those that, take that pen seriously and write a damn good story for themselves, like you are right now, like those people are going to have an awesome book at the end of the day. Like, and those that are like, it's out of my hands, out of my control. I'll just let life, pinball me around and let, you know, the other people in my life make all the decisions for me. Like, it's like you're going to get what you get. If that's the case, you're going to have a book of somebody that didn't even want to write their own story. You know what I mean? Like, so I think I love that you're, you know, touching all of that. Like, you know, you have control over a lot of things. Like, you don't have control over everything, by not even close, but like there are things in our lives that we can make an impact on by just making better choices.
Well, and I feel lucky that I had someone point it out to me, because most people don't have that. You know, I think if my mom had had the attitude of, well, that's the fate we're all in for, I would have felt the same way.
Yeah.
But then but watching her and then her sisters, it's like my own science experiment, right?
Yeah.
Just watching this happen over time.
Yeah.
And if I didn't at least try and invest in myself in this way, it's almost like forfeiting a game. You know, you can't win if you don't even try.
Yep.
You know,
I completely agree.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. I love it. Awesome. Thank you for coming on today. This is a damn good one. I hope it didn't go too long for you, but I really appreciate you coming on here. I'm extremely proud of you, and I'm very excited for everything that we're gonna crush in the you know, months to come, because come May, it's beach time, right?
Yep. You know what? We'll check in again at 50, and maybe I'll be sitting here. We'll do another podcast, and I'll be sitting here in my bikini.
We'll have everybody. It'll have like double or triple the views, but that's it. Right. That's funny. On that note, everybody, thank you so much for coming on today, Jessica. I appreciate you. And other than that, guys, I hope you got value. Feel free to, you know, like this video, like this podcast, share it, because somebody else might need to, you know, hear you know, the accomplishments and the story that you heard today. Because, you know, you might have somebody in your life that's, you know, in any age, but, you know, maybe in their, you know, mid to late 40s, early 50s, and they're like, well, there's nothing I can do about it. Wrong. Clearly, there are things that you can do, because Jessica's been kicking ass and taking names at her goals, and not, you know, just basically like punching Father Time in the dick and saying like, nope, not today. So, yeah, awesome. Thanks, guys. And we'll talk to y'all in the next episode.